Absolutely, there's a reason you're all here. Everything that happens in our life, everything, happens for a reason. And everything happens for our own spiritual growth and unfolding. Now, that doesn't mean it all feels good. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you are in school and you've made a choice that you are just going to goof around. You don't like to do schoolwork. You would much rather play football and video games. And so you don't do your homework and you lie to your mother and father every time they ask if you've done your homework. And you say yes, but actually you don't do it and you just goof around and you play with your friends and you skip school and you don't even go to class and you hang around and okay. Well, at the end of the year, you're going to fail. And when you fail, you have to redo that year. If you're in 5th grade or 6th grade or whatever grade you're in, if you don't pass, you can't go on to the next year. You have to redo that year. So now if we pop into your life at that moment where you have failed 6th grade, let's say, and you say, well, did that happen for a reason? Well, yeah, it did. The reason was that you made a choice about 10 months ago that you were going to goof around and not take school seriously. And as the repercussion of that, you have failed. But it's actually for a higher purpose, which is you need to learn the material. It's not that the school is punishing you. It's not that they said you are a bad boy. You goofed around. You didn't come to class. Therefore, as a vindictive punishment, we are going to make you redo that year. No. They're not being vindictive. They're not trying to punish you. The school has one agenda and one agenda only, which is you should learn the material. So before you can go on to 7th grade, you must learn the material of 6th grade. And so making you redo 6th grade is ultimately for your unfoldment, your growth. Because if you didn't redo it, you would never learn what 6th grade had to offer. You would go your entire life never knowing all of the building blocks, which would mean that 7th grade would be nearly impossible because 7th grade builds on 6th grade. 8th grade builds on 7th grade. And so if you never really got what 6th grade was teaching, your life would become very difficult. In the same way, on a much grander level, that which happens is happening as a result of our past karma. It's not about rewards and punishments. It's not like the school saying, oh, you were bad, we're going to hold you back. It's not that. It's the universe saying, here are the seeds you planted. Here's the way that they flower into trees. Therefore, this is what now grows in your garden. So that's one direction. That's I have planted seeds in the past that have borne fruit today, and that's why I am where I am today. But there's also another directionality, which is today as the seed for the tree that you need to have in your garden tomorrow. So another way to think about it is due to your karmic package, due to that which is going to be most conducive for your spiritual evolvement, your unfolding, your opening, you need to have a certain experience in life. The universe needs to give you that experience. But in order to have that experience, because the universe doesn't just, time warp people. You don't find yourself suddenly, in an entirely different part of the world. You actually had to show up at an airport or a train station or a bus station. You had to get on. It's not like you just, find yourself suddenly somewhere because the universe deemed it right. You may not know why you came, but you know how you got there. You know that you sat on a flight, or you sat on a bus, or you sat on a train. And so in order to give you the experience that the universe needs you to have, today could be the seed for that. And so one way of thinking about it is all of the seeds of the past brought you here because we could say you needed, for your unfoldment, to hear what's happening in satsang tonight. Okay? That's one way of understanding it, is that all of that which brought you here was because of that which was going to be asked and spoken. And that you, on your journey, needed to hear that, needed to experience that for your next step. But another way of thinking about it is that the universe has a plan. Let's even be more creative writing. Let's say that you are supposed to meet someone who's going to be the person you're going to marry. Okay? The universe has to figure out how to get you guys to meet. So maybe you came into Rishikesh this afternoon, but you were going to fly back to Delhi tonight for a meeting that you had. But then something in you said, no, you know what? I really want to stay for satsang. I've heard about that satsang. I've been meaning to go. I really want to stay. Chalo, I'll change my plans. I'll stay for satsang. And when you walk out of here tonight, walk down on the banks of Ganga, suddenly there, at that moment, you meet the person you were supposed to meet. But if you had left 6 hours ago, you wouldn't have met her. And so the satsang, rather than being the fruit of the seeds that were planted, became the seed that actually the purpose that it served was simply to hold you back in Rishikesh for another few hours so that you could meet that person on your way out. So those are two different directional ways. One is the past has led up to this moment because this is what it's about. And another possibility is what it's about is where you're going to go from here, but to get there you needed to be here. And either way, it doesn't matter, and of course we never really know. They're just different ways of thinking about it. Sometimes we know. Sometimes something hits us and we think, okay, yeah, now I know why I needed this, that had to happen. But what's most important is just to know that wherever we are, we're there for a reason. And whether it's the fruit bearing from seeds I've planted in the past, that I need what this moment is giving me, I need to learn, I need to experience what this moment is giving me. Or that this moment is itself a seed that I'm planting for a tree that's going to bear fruit in my life at a different time or in a different way. And in many, many cases, by the way, it's both. It's not one or the other. I gave, two very specific, and particularly the marriage one, just sort of a creative writing, romanticized example of it. But in most cases, the reason is manifold. One reason is it's the fruit of seeds I've planted in the past. That's why I'm here. And here in this moment, I am gaining something, whether something from the outer situation or something from my inner situation, that I'm gaining for a reason. A lot of times when we go through difficult times, we go through pain and suffering, it fits in this category. Yeah, it's there for a reason. Some seeds from the past are bearing fruit in this moment. And in experiencing that suffering of this moment, I'm actually learning about a place within myself that I never would have known existed if I didn't have this suffering. I'm finding a grounding, a centering, an anchoring that I never would have found if this didn't happen. And so in that case, it's both. And most things really are. But what we know for 100% sure is there's always a reason. The seeds are planted not by the universe. The seeds are planted by us, by our thoughts and our mind, as you've said, by both of them, by our actions as well. Our thoughts lead to actions. If a thought doesn't lead to an action, it doesn't actually plant a seed. The seed of a thought impacts us when it blossoms into an action or inaction. If it's just a passing thought and we don't act on it, it won't plant a seed in us, which is very, very good. Pujya Swamiji, my guru, says that this is the grace of the Kali Yuga. That the Kali Yuga, the Yuga we're in right now, is so difficult, is the most difficult of all the eras. And that in the other yugas, you really did get karmic fruits from simply thoughts. But that the grace of the Kali Yuga, because it's so filled with darkness, is that we've been given a little bit of leeway. And so we don't actually get karma for thoughts we have until and unless we act on them, which for most of us is a really good thing. I mean, everybody can let out a really big sigh of relief because so many of us have thoughts that we don't act on because, we have consciences and we have willpower and we have sanskaras and ethics and values that say, no, that's wrong. But we may have thoughts of, oh God, I wish. Things that aren't so nice necessarily. But the Kali Yuga lets us off of that, thankfully. And so the seeds that get planted are seeds of actions. Now, of course, actions only come from thoughts. So it all begins with a thought. But don't berate yourself for thoughts, because as long as you can prevent yourself from acting on them, as long as you have the discipline, the willpower, the values, the ethics to work with your thoughts, whether they be of anger or greed or lust or whatever they may be, as long as you don't act on them, they're not going to plant any seeds in your life. So, since the law of karma has been kind to us, we should be kind to ourselves as well, and have compassion for the fact that, yeah, we do have thoughts that are not necessarily thoughts we'd like to have. But this is why we practice meditation. It's why we practice chanting our mantra. It's why we practice introspection. To understand, why do I have those thoughts? What is it that makes me so angry? What inner emptiness am I looking to fill through my greed or through my lust? What emptiness is it inside me that makes me feel so jealous and therefore angry? That's really important personal insight. So instead of saying, oh my God, you're horrible, look, it's another lustful thought, or oh my God, you're horrible, look, it's another greedy thought, or look, it's another angry thought, or look, you're jealous again, you're horrible. Rather than that, we use it for introspection. What is it? And then we use meditation to help us understand. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my thoughts. They're patterns of chemical and electrical activity in my brain. They've been put there by my culture, by my society, by my family, by an interaction thereof. I'm not my thoughts. And the more we meditate, the more power and control we have over our thoughts, and the more our thoughts change. And the more we introspect on them, the more that anger or greed or lust or whatever it may be starts to dissolve. And so the seeds in our life are being planted by us, by our actions. But you're better off watching your thoughts than just watching your actions, because sometimes with actions you find yourself halfway through the action before you even realized you were doing it. And so if you can develop a habit of watching your thoughts, you're one step ahead. Because again, no action comes without a thought preceding it. So if you can really develop the skill of watching the thoughts, that's what mindfulness is. What am I doing with my mind also? Not just what am I doing with my hands, but what's my mind doing? I begin by watching my hand, but ultimately, I watch my mind. So begin with picking up. Okay, so that's beginner's course. And then it's, anger coming, fear, constriction, advanced course. But the same watchfulness. And if I know anger coming, constriction, separation, that's what my mind is doing. When I get angry, I go from being connected in one to being separate. I go from being vast to being contracted and constricted. If I can watch that, then I'm able to stop myself before I act out of that anger. So I'm able to prevent any seeds, karmic seeds, from being planted.